Hi, everybody. Welcome back to eddyeigo. Today, we've got a really interesting lesson for you today. We're going to be talking about the two words which and that. These are two words that are often mixed up by Japanese native speakers and by probably other people who are non-native English speakers. In fact, it's not clear if you listen to native speakers. It's not clear how they use it sometimes. British people use it one way, American people use it another way. American people kind of mix it up the way they use it. In North America, we're usually taught some rules when to use which, when to use that. These days, people are not following the rules so closely. British people don't distinguish so clearly, but they do have some rules. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to be teaching you some general guidelines that you can use, and it will help you guide you when you are trying to figure out if you should use which or that, or if you should put a comma or no comma. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to give you some general rules that I think you're going to be able to rely upon in your future English endeavors. So next, let's go over to the whiteboard. All right, as I said, today we'll be talking about which and that. Now, these words are widely used in English for various different functions and meanings. Today, we're only going to be talking about the which and that as they are used as relative pronouns. Relative pronouns. So relative pronouns in Japanese is関係代名詞. So you have the word pronoun here. Maybe you know this. This is 代名詞. It's a word that takes the place of another noun. Relative means 関係. So a relative pronoun is a pronoun that is representing or relating back to the noun before it. Okay, so let's say he gave me the book that was on the table. The book that was on the table. Okay, that is the same as book. That represents book. He gave me the book. The book was on the table. It would be funny to say a sentence like that. He gave me the book. The book was on the table. It sounds very childish to write a sentence like that. So instead, we will link these sentences together and make them a complex sentence using a relative pronoun. He gave me the book that was on the table. All right? So this is what a relative pronoun does. Okay, from now it's going to get just a little bit more complex. We have our relative pronoun and our relative clause. The next thing you have to remember, there are two types of relative clauses. The first type is called a defining relative clause. Defining relative clause. Defining, do you know what it means? Define means 定義する. So a defining relative clause defines the noun before it. Okay? This very important concept to remember. A defining relative clause defines the noun before it. So, if you have the sentence, He gave me the book that was on the table. In this case, this relative clause defines which book? The book that was on the table. In this case, that was on the table, the defining relative clause, is like an adjective. For example, we have such expressions like big boy, beautiful woman. Now, as you may know, when you speak English, we always keep such words together because they're related. Big is a modifier of boy. Big, modify, boy. Modify, shu shoku suru. So, we never say big, comma, boy. We never say beautiful, comma, woman. No, because it explains about which boy, the big boy, or the beautiful woman. Same thing with the defining relative clause. It is modifying this noun. It is defining, teigi suru, this noun. So it is necessary, essential, necessary information. Because of this, no comma, and these words must be kept together as one set, especially if you're speaking. When you're writing, it doesn't matter, but when you're speaking, it's necessary to keep the defining relative clause and the noun that it modifies, the noun that it defines, together. Listen to me read this story. Listen to me read this sentence. He gave me the book that was on the table. Catch that? The book that was on the table, like it's one word. He gave me the book that was on the table. Whenever you use a defining relative clause, you should keep the defining relative clause together with the noun that it defines. All right? Sounds confusing. It sounds a little bit complex, but it's not. Just remember, if you are defining something, no comma. Let's take a look at some examples. So we have two sentences that we want to put together. I'm afraid of the dog, and the dog bit me. All right? In this case, combined, this would become, I'm afraid of the dog that bit me. Notice how I say that, the dog that bit me. Like it's one word. Once again, I'm afraid of the dog that bit me. Look at the next one. I like the bike. My father gave me the bike. Put together, I like the bike that my father gave me. Once again, I like the bike that my father gave me. Next one, these two sentences. The movie was interesting. John recommended the movie. Put together, the movie that John recommended was interesting. The movie that John recommended was interesting. Finally, please bring me the slippers. The slippers are under the sofa. Together, please bring me the slippers that are under the sofa. Once again, please bring me the slippers that are under the sofa. All right? See how we keep the noun that is being modified and the relative clause that is defining the noun, defining relative clause. We keep those together, the noun and its definition. I'm going to read this again in normal speed. Try to catch how I keep these words together. I'm afraid of the dog that bit me. I like the bike that my father gave me. The movie that John recommended was interesting. Please bring me the slippers that are under the sofa. Okay? defining relative clause. All right, now let's look at some non-defining relative clauses which are used as noun modifiers. That is, it supplies extra information about some noun that comes before the clause. Look at this. Look at these sentences here. So I went into the bedroom. The bedroom was very dark. Now, in English, the bedroom has a specific meaning. It means like my bedroom or my house's bedroom or this house's bedroom. So it doesn't need to be defined. It already is defined. And the bedroom was very dark is just extra information about the condition of the bedroom. It doesn't define the bedroom. So in this case, to combine these sentences, we would have, I went into the bedroom, which was very dark. Now, in this case, notice the intonation. Notice the pause. We have a comma, so we pause there when we read this. Once again, I went into the bedroom, which was very dark. Quite different from our defining relative clause, which has to be together with the noun that it's modifying. Let's look at the next set of sentences. This is what I told you, like I told you before. U.S. needs no definition. It's already defined. It's a country in North America. So let's look at these. They live in the U.S. The U.S. is where they were born. Together, they live in the U.S., which is where they were born. Notice, comma, which. Once again, they live in the U.S., which is where they were born. Okay? Look at the next set of sentences. This shirt is blue. Blue is my favorite color. Together, this shirt is blue, which is my favorite color. Once again, the final sentence, I won the top prize. The top prize was a gold medal. I won the top prize, which was a gold medal. All right, as I did before, I'm going to read through these again, pretty quick speed. Try to catch how I'm grouping these. Try to catch where I'm pausing in between the main sentence and the relative clause, the non-defining relative clause. Please listen. I went into the bedroom, which was very dark. Next, they live in the U.S., which is where they were born. Next, this shirt is blue, which is my favorite color. Next, I won the top prize, which was a gold medal. So up to this point, we were looking at sentences that contained only one relative clause, either a defining relative clause or a non-defining relative clause. But did you know that we can put as many relative clauses as we like in a sentence? Actually, non-defining relative clause, maybe there will always be only one non-defining relative clause in a sentence, but a defining relative clause, we can have as many as we like. We can mix up a non-defining relative clause with one or more defining relative clauses, and we can string out a sentence as far as we want. Now, if you keep this in mind, it will help you to read very complex English sentences, because many native speakers do run these kind of clauses together in the same sentence. Look at these examples that we have here. I'm going to read this and read along with me. John bought the car that his wife wanted, which is similar to the car that I bought. All right, notice this sentence has two defining relative clauses. We're talking about cars, and in the first case, it's the car that John's wife wanted, and in the second case, it's the car that I bought. So two different cars, even though the same word, the car, the relative clause defines two different cars. So please repeat, or not please repeat, please read along. John bought the car that his wife wanted, which is similar to the car that I bought. All right. Let's look at the next one. This has two relative clauses, one defining and one non-defining. Please read along. He paid $10 for the groceries that he bought, which was not too expensive. He paid $10 for the groceries that he bought, which is not too expensive. Okay, first of all, the defining relative clause defines which groceries, the ones that he bought, and then we add the opinion, which doesn't define anything, just some opinion. Oh, that's not so expensive. Okay? Once again, notice the intonation, notice the pausing. He paid $10 for the groceries that he bought, which is not too expensive. Okay. Look at the next one. This time, we have a non-defining relative clause, and inside the non-defining relative clause is a defining relative clause. So inside the non-defining relative clause that starts with which, we define the garage. We tell the people that we are talking about the garage behind my house. Please listen, catch the intonation, catch the pauses. Here we go. The car, which is in the garage that is behind my house, is a Toyota. Once again. The car, which is in the garage that is behind my house, is a Toyota. All right, the next one is sounds a little bit crazy, but it is very normal sentence in English. It is very possible to make a sentence like this, and I've seen cases where people have run together clauses like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 defining relative clauses and one non-defining relative clause. Let me see if I can read this through without making a mistake. Please listen. I left my bag on a chair that is near the heater that is in the store that is near the station that is 2 stops from Shinjuku, which is a city in Tokyo. All right. Once again, I'll try to read it quickly and try to catch the intonation where I'm keeping the defining relative clauses together and I'm saying a break before the non-defining relative clause. Please listen. I left my bag on the chair that is near the heater that is in the store that is near the station that is 2 stops from Shinjuku, which is a city in Tokyo. All right, you got this? So when you're using a defining relative clause, start it with that and then define the noun. Keep those words together. When you're using a non-defining relative clause, start it with which, and you should pause slightly before the which. The which clause has to be separated from the sentence by commas. So, to summarize, that or which. The first type of sentence we have is that, defining. The vase that was on the table fell over and broke. This is okay in the US, okay in the UK. No problem. Then we have which, non-defining. The vase, comma, which is on the table, comma, fell over and broke. The vase, which is on the table, fell over and broke. Okay in the US, okay in the UK. Now, I strongly recommend that these two are the styles that you use. If you use these styles, you will never be wrong. The next one, number 3. Which, defining. The vase which was on the table fell over and broke. Now this is the same as the first one, except instead of which, we use that. In the US, I wrote no, but I marked it with an asterisk because I want to say some people in the US will use this style. I don't use this style. Many of my colleagues don't use this style because we were taught that we use that for a defining relative clause. So I recommend that you always use that for a defining relative clause. But if you use which, it won't be thought of as being wrong. And so in the UK, there's no problem with it at all. UK people mix it up all the time. Finally, the last one, this one is wrong in the UK, wrong in the US. Remember this. And this is a non-defining relative clause using that, meaning the vase, comma, that was on the table, comma, fell over and broke. Always wrong. Always wrong in the US and in the UK. If you have a non-defining relative clause set off by commas, you must use which. So, what do you think? Now, do you think you can use which and that with confidence? If you have any questions, you can always leave the question in the comment below. You can leave it in Japanese or in English, or you can send me an email. My email is in the show notes below. Or if you're one of my students, you can always ask in class. Like I said, you can communicate with me either in Japanese or in English. I'll be happy to help you out. In future videos, we'll be covering some other aspects of which and that we couldn't cover in this particular video. So I hope you keep coming back. I hope you subscribe, and I hope you click that bell icon so you can be notified every time we put up a new video. Well, that's it for now. I hope that you join us again for our next lesson, when we'll be covering more of the difficult aspects in English for Japanese speakers. See you then.